The 6 children stood lined up neatly in front of leader and Reborn. The head of the family sneered at his first son, Iode, who couldn't even reach the middle of the labyrinth, because Iode was distracted by different kind of magic and monsters. Sir Gilliard was very disappointed that Lode abandoned the main goal because he was blinded by curiosity. According to Patriarch, Cyan and Seal are better, because they can get through traps and monsters without any problems even though they couldn't defeat the Minotaur. It was simply because their experience was insufficient and it could be overcome with enough practice. Sir Gilliard wished to all the kids good luck in getting through the mess. Sir Gilliard thought it is to be too difficult trail, but you all did well. Sir Gilliard praised Eugene as the most outstanding figure among the 9 children. The leader of this family praises him. Eugene's methods that overcoming traps and monsters, especially when fighting trolls, Eugene managed to win and was not a single injury. Gargis was even surprised to hear that Eugene was not hurt in the slightest. He wondered how Eugene could do that with his weak body. Gargis thought if he had get his family's muscle growth potion then he is able to stronger than this present body. Sir Reborn expected the children to survive in the labyrinth for at least couple of days, but which realized he had underestimated the children too much in his heart. Sir Reborn knew even though they were children, they were still descendants of Vermouth. Just seeing their untapped talent made Sir Reborn happy. There will be soon have a great feast for the children. So for today, Sir Gilliard asked the children to rest and asked them to attend the party next day. Sir Gilliard insisted the help of Sir Reborn to take the children home. Before that, Sir Gilliard called Eugene to go with him. Seal looked Sir Gilliard surprised. She asked his father that he gave him present now. Sir Gilliard confirmed this because he doesn't need to postpone good things. Seal is sad because she once asked her father to take her into the treasure room, but in the end Sir Gilliard never once took her there. That's why this girl looks a little sad. Sir Gilliard took Eugene for an evening walk through the woods. They had then the beautiful evening light. Sir Gilliard compliments Eugene's skill and using different kind of weapons. Sir Gilliard still insists that Eugene is a great figure because he can defeat monsters with a sword and shield in the labyrinth. He can even use a spear when he duels with Cyan and Descendant. Eugene is a little surprised that Sir Gilliard knew about his fight with Descendant. Sir Gilliard said that the weapon that symbolizes the Lionheart family is the sword, but their ancestor the Vermouth was skilled in wielding multiple types of weapons. That's why he was called the god of war and the master of all. But it's not just Sir Vermouth who is skilled at wielding all weapons. His friend Hamel is also a great master just below Sir Vermouth. Eugene asked why Hamel is often called Foolish Hamel in the storybooks. Sir Gilliard laughed at this. He had also heard about it from a book he read when he was young. According to Gaillard, if Sir Hamel didn't bother, the story would be boring. Then with a bright smile, Sir Gilliard said he likes Sir Hamel more than Sir Vermouth himself. Eugene was stunned to hear that said by a major leader of the Lionheart family. So he asked why. Leader explains, compared to the flawless Sir Vermouth, I'd like Sir Hamel the human side more, a side that often appears in storybooks. Sir Hamel often felt inferior to Vermouth, but he never gave up. Instead, he kept trying hard to surpass his limits. In the end, Sir Hamel sacrificed himself for his friend. Eugene rubbed his nose proudly. He thought it was obvious that such moral teachings would be featured in storybooks. Then slowly Eugene said to Patriarch that he likes Sir Hamel too. Eugene's sincere words made Sir Gilliard smile. Finally, 2 of them arrived in front of the entrance of the small tower. They immediately went into the basement as they walked down the stairs to the room. Sir Gilliard said that Eugene was the first person who is not the head of the family to enter the secret room. Eugene asks if he's allowed him. Sir Gilliard said, of course, because he had promised to give Eugene something as a gift. This has also been discussed with the elders of the Senate today. Eugene knows the elders of the Senate are the old lions of Lionheart, including the previous head of the family. And then Eugene asked what is in the treasure room. Sir Gilliard replied, there is a heritage of hundreds of years and also relics from Sir Vermouth. Hearing that, Eugene immediately asked if there was a holy sword in that room too. With a proud smile, Patriarch confirmed it. But Eugene will not be able to have it, because the holy sword is also the emblem of the Lionheart family. Therefore, it cannot be owned by one person. Eugene regrets. After Sir Vermouth, not a single person has been acknowledged by the holy sword. Eugene was surprised to hear that. Sir Gilliard replied that the boy would know, once he took hold of his sword. Finally, they both arrived at the end of the stairs in front of the treasure door. Then Patriarch cut his finger, then he dropped his blood into the lion's head symbol that was in front of the big door. After that, slowly, the pattern in front of the door formed, the symbol of the Lionheart family, and the door opened. However, only Eugene was told to enter. Sir Gilliard, the family leader, preferred to wait in front of the door because if he went in with Eugene, the boy would be reluctant and unable to choose as he wished. Eugene bowed, while thanking the family leader for the wise consideration. Then without hesitation he walked into the secret weapon room. The smile on Eugene's face widened as he tried to draw the holy sword for first time. The holy sword is a sword that has existed since the beginning of the Great Ura's Empire. The sword was considered a gift from God. The holy sword was sealed a long time ago in the Holy Temple, and the sword only acknowledges Vermouth as its owner 300 years ago. It was that sword that stabbed the demon lord of slaughter, the fifth most powerful entity in the devil realm of Helmet. But after that, the holy sword was only used as a torch when their group had to walk down a dark alley. Now Eugene was standing in front of the sword and trying to pull it, but no matter how hard Eugene pulled it, the sword didn't even budge from its spot. In the end Eugene couldn't do anything and just gave up. Eugene also decided to look for other things. He walked down aisles to look at the weapons on display. This boy was amazed when he saw a sword, the Devourer sword Aspel. That looks very dynamic. This sword absorbs the mana cuts and turns it into a source of power. This sword could even cut through powerful spells with a single slash, but the reason Vermouth could control a spells well, was because the young man was also an extraordinary magician. This sword is too strong for the current Eugene. Then this boy continued walking and saw another weapon. He recognized namely the dragon spear Carbos. It takes a little time to heat up, but this spear can breathe fire as hot as the breath of a dragon. Then there was also the Windstorm sword Wined, a sword gifted by the Wind Spirit King. There's also a Baupernoia, it can shoot lightning, a sword of no return Zabel, that can turn into a whip when it's strengthened with mana. There is also a dynamic, the shield of Gideon, that sends any attacks it receives into the void world. All the weapons in that place are so good. Eugene won't regret choosing any, but out of all that this boy had yet to see, neither the moonlight swords nor the demon spears. 300 years is indeed quite a long time, so it's only fitting that they get a god tier weapon. Eugene considers taking Wined because that weapon can provide wind elements just by holding it. And with enough mana, he could even summon the wind god, but learning elemental spirit magic was extremely difficult. Even talented magicians had trouble controlling low-level spirits while contemplating the right choice. This boy decided to look around at the range of accessories. Suddenly, Eugene saw a necklace and immediately took it. The necklace with the red pendant belonging to Hamel, and it's a keepsake from a past life, memories of his parents who both being eaten by monsters. Hamel managed to get revenge and wore the necklace until the end of his life. Eugene wonders why the necklace could be there. He suspected Vermouth brought back the body. Eugene realizes that his comrades did not immediately throw him out of their lives. They used to be an agreement between Vermouth and the Demon King of Incarceration. The treaty did result in peace, but the last Demon King is still alive. This boy thought of his 5 comrades. Even though in the past, they often talked about killing the Demon King, in the end the intention was not resolved. He doesn't accept his belongings being kept at the place of the person who betray him. Especially Vermouth. Eugene suspects he is to blame. Eugene doesn't want to hate Vermouth and his colleagues because they must have good reasons to do the deal. Lots of weapons that Eugene wanted in that place. However, he did not want Hamel's necklace left in that place. As a result, Eugene took only the necklace. Of course, Sir Gilliard was surprised when the boy only brought out a simple necklace. Sir Gilliard even questioned Eugene's willingness again, considering that, The vault contained many more interesting treasures. Sir Gilliard then asked for the necklace to be seen. When the patriarch looks closely at the necklace, he knew it was old and ugly. He also wondered why there could be a necklace like that in family's treasury. Then Sir Gilliard showed the necklace over the lion statue, but the statue didn't respond, indicating that it wasn't listed in storage. Sir Gilliard stated that the necklace was not Lionheart's property and that it should not have been in the vault. But Eugene insists that he got the necklace from inside the storage room. Sir Gilliard knows if the necklace is sold, money wouldn't be enough to buy a cheap sword. Patriarch again asked whether Eugene wanted to have the necklace. With a happy face, Eugene immediately answered yes. Finally Sir Gilliard let the boy has his necklace, but before that Patriarch will ask O'Brien to interpret the necklace first to find out its origins. After that only Eugene can accept it. Technically what Eugene took, that not belong to the Lionheart family. So, this brat was allowed to enter and retrieve one treasure from the storage room. After actually getting Patriarch permission, the boy excitedly ran back into the storage room. While running, Eugene thinks, Sir Gilliard is very rational, and he could hardly even believe Sir Gilliard was descended from someone like uncompromising Vermouth. The boy no longer had any doubts in his heart about, quickly picking up Wined's sword. He pulled sword from scabbard and smiled widely while holding the sword. Now it's Eugene's. That night in the palace courtyard, Descendant immediately scolds Eugene for not choosing a spear, even though he is an expert in using one. Eugene replied that this was his choice after all, he is also skilled in using the sword. Gargis thought it was too late. He suggests Eugene choose a hammer of a large size. Eugene insists the sword is the best option. Gargis is instead again offered Eugene to come with him back home and get some muscle growth medicine. Irritated, Eugene insists he does not need drugs like that. Desire lights up their conversation and asks Eugene to draw his sword without saying much. The boy pulled out his sword, which was always sparkling blue. Desire asks, "What sword is that?" Eugene replies, "It is Stormblade." This boy also explained that the sword he was holding was blessed by the wind elemental god. Later Eugene can summon it after training his mana. Desire agreed those swords were cool, but she would have chosen the spear anyway. Desire then mentions one spear named Dragon Carbos, a spear that can breathe fire with a single thrust. Desire was getting more and more excited, explaining about another spear named Demon Spear Ruintos. That is the strongest spear ever owned by Vermouth. Gargis said he had also heard of Ruintos too. The spear used to belong to the Demon King of Cruelty. Eugene was speechless at that. He remembered that 300 years ago, there were 5 demon lords in the Helmet Kingdom. First, Demon King of Ruin; the second, Demon King of Incarceration; the third, Demon King of Frenzy; the fourth, Demon King of Cruelty; and the fifth, Demon King of Slaughter. Gargis said his knowledge was wrong. All he knew was strongest weapon was the frail Zigolard. Weapons like hammers are capable of destroying anything. While the two men in front of him were busy debating which weapon was stronger, Eugene noticed that only these two had previously been used by a demon lord. They were too dangerous to keep in the treasure room. That's why Demon King spears and hammers were probably stored elsewhere. While Desire and Gargis debated which weapon was stronger, Eugene shook his head and left 2 of them alone. In his mind Eugene knew both weapons were equally powerful. It was hard to decide which was better, but if Eugene was asked to choose the strongest weapon Vermouth had, then he wouldn't need to think long and would immediately answer Moonlight Sword. The weapon is living proof of destruction, and that sword used to be stored in the deepest point of Helmet. Both the Demon Lord of Cruelty and the Demon Lord of Slaughter, both die by its death strike using the Moonlight Sword. Eugene stood straight while concentrating on the sword in his hand. This was the first time Eugene wielded a real sword in his current life, but the boy could swing his sword just fine. Even as 2 friends who had been arguing immediately stopped to see how agile Eugene was dancing with his new sword. This 13-year-old boy not only looks agile, but also amazing. However, he looked very proficient, as if he had used the sword for a long time. Gargis and Desire were even stunned. By the way, the boy used his sword skills elsewhere in the room of the main head of the family. When O'Brien was checking Hamel's necklace, he closed her eyes, while focusing on feeling the energy within the necklace. When finished, Sir O'Brien put the necklace back on Patriarch desk saying that there was no magical energy in the necklace. Sir O'Brien even asked if it was true that the ordinary necklace that come from the treasure room. Sir Gillard confirmed this. Sir O'Brien once again asked if it was true that Eugene was not lying to Patriarch. The head of the family replied that the child had no reason to lie to him. If Sir Gillard didn't let him choose another treasure, then Eugene would get nothing but this simple necklace. Then Sir O'Brien checks the necklace again and made sure there was no magic in the necklace, but he wanted to dig deeper out of curiosity. So, this young wizard will use magic that can read mana memories. It was magic that Grandmaster Senya used to create. Sir O'Brien said, "Mana is everywhere, most things have mana energy in them. So now he's going to read the mana energy that print inside the necklace." For a few moments Sir O'Brien seemed much focused on reading the mana energy from the necklace in his palm. He glimpsed life from the necklace. There is nothing attractive about the necklace, and it is about 100 years old. Finally, Sir O'Brien opened his eyes and told Sir Gillard that he had found nothing significant. This young man suspected that the magic in the treasure room must be interfering with the mana and his necklace. Sir Gillard clung to the necklace. He was sure that no one alive could say where the necklace came from. Sir O'Brien asked him, "Now, what to do with the necklace?" Sir Gillard replied that he would give the necklace to Eugene. Sir Gillard rose from his royal chair and stared out the window, staring right at the boy, who was currently practicing using his new sword. Sir Gillard asked, how could he not like someone like Eugene who is even still practicing the sword at this late hour? Now, Sir Gillard will make the offer with a proud smile. This man with white hair said he would adopt Eugene Lionheart as his son. That morning a handsome young man greeted Eugene. He is Kian. Kian is the youngest brother of the patriarch Sir Gillard Lionheart. Kian is very unique because he did not marry even after his prime age. He chose to join Patriarch on his long journey. Eugene bowed as a form of respect, and Kian get very close to Eugene without hesitation. Eugene immediately embraced. Kian said that this youth is the son of the reserve family who won against the main family in the bloodline ceremony. Eugene asked if he had come to take Eugene away. Kian confirmed it. He had come alone to summon Eugene on Patriarch orders. Kian wants to meet this amazing boy who is currently the subject of conversation. Kian heard a lot about Eugene, but he couldn't see him at the bloodline ceremony because it was a tradition that only the head of the family was allowed to supervise. Kian made it clear that he had no ill will towards his brother. Eugene believes he is as great person as he appears. Now, the two of them were walking down the hall to Patriarch room. At this time Eugene asked Kian why the head of the family called him. He replied the head of the family might have wanted to congratulate him on winning the bloodline ceremony. Eugene replied that he had already given me his praise. Kian doesn't know about the real reason either. Kian said it wasn't that he didn't know the estimate, but there was no reason for him to care about it. All he wants is to see Eugene more often. Eugene is also happy to meet Kian often by now. They had reached Patriarch door, so Eugene started knocking on the big door, then said his name. An answer to be heard from inside the room to allow Eugene to enter. Kian opened the door for Eugene, while giving him an enthusiastic smile. At this point Eugene thinks Kian's personality is good. As soon as he entered the room of the leader of the Lionheart family, he was greeted warmly by Patriarch. The two of them sat facing each other while enjoying tea and snacks. First Patriarch gives Eugene the necklace and says, "It's been checked by Sir O'Brien and there's no magic in it." Leader also said they had read the mana traces in it and there was nothing out of the ordinary. Eugene was shocked to hear that because he remembered reading mana trails was a technique Senya had shown him before. Then Eugene asked what traces were left on his necklace. Sir Gillard replied that the necklace was sold in the capital market about 100 years ago. Eugene was with the pale-faced hearing that he couldn't believe his mana trail was like that because the necklace belonged to Hamel, which he wore long ago 300 years ago. so there was no way Reborn could see it wrong, but there's no reason for the Reborn to lie. Eugene wonders if Reborn misread the trail, then Eugene realized that it might be a new type of magic cast by someone with the Tower Master level to cover his tracks. The reason behind is erasing. Eugene changes expression from curious to cheerful. He asked, "Can I wear the necklace now?" Leader allowed it, as he promised at the beginning. Eugene gladly received the necklace again and thanked him. Later, Sir Gilliard said, he called Eugene not only to give back the necklace, he wanted to make a pretty lucrative offer for Eugene. This will concern Eugene's future for a moment. The boy tends to leader words. So before the host made his offer, Eugene suddenly said that Seal was a sweet and kind girl, but Eugene doesn't want to think about marriage for now. This boy guessed that the reasons of a political marriage. When Eugene continues to rant about marriage, Patriarch immediately stops him by saying that Eugene has misunderstood. Sir Gilliard wasn't trying to set Seal up with him. Instantly Eugene's face was red with embarrassment. He was embarrassed because he had misunderstood too far. Eugene wants to bang his head against the wall, for daring to think about marrying a 13-year-old. With a trembling voice Eugene asked for reason. Sir Gilliard calmly tried to deliberately call Eugene to make an offer to adopt him as a child. Of course, Eugene was surprised to hear this, but he realized that this method was good enough to lure him into the main house. Eugene stammered and said this was a rather surprising offer to become leader's adopted son. However, the elder replied that this offer was not suddenly asked to marry. Eugene smiled sheepishly again when this was brought up, so he apologized with his face still red. Sir Gilliard explained if Eugene wanted this, then he would call his father, Father Jihard, to join the main family. Hearing this, Eugene complains that later he will have two fathers. Sir Gilliard smiled and told him not to think too hard because this means that Eugene's family will become part of the main family. Leader is the father of 3 children, so he had no intention of kidnapping the child from Jihard. Sir Gilliard had never met Eugene's father, but he promised that he would consider Sir Jihard as his brother. Eugene looks very serious thinking about this. Eugene asks Sir Gilliard, if he refuses to be his son, will the landlord not respect his father? Sir Gilliard smiled at the boy's question. He certainly wouldn't do that. Sir Gilliard said frankly, that he might be a little saddened by Eugene's decision, but if Eugene refuses, Sir Gilliard will respect Eugene's decision and wish the best for this boy. Eugene says, he can't decide this on his own, so he has to talk to his father first. So, Sir Gilliard will send people to Gadal and call his father. Eugene thanks him, and then drank the tea in his glass first. At this point, Eugene remembers that Sir Gilliard said as for his future, so we asked what does that mean? Patriarch explains that Eugene will have many opportunities living in Lionheart's mansion. The first is, that place many knights can teach Eugene. Hearing that, Eugene immediately said, he wanted to learn from the best, so Eugene asked if he became the son of Sir Gilliard, could he learn to fight from him? The head of the family was speechless hearing that. Meanwhile, Eugene, this brat, was wondering in his head. How strong was the leader of the Lionheart family? At last Sir Gilliard smiled. He certainly allowed Eugene to learn from him. But if Eugene wanted to learn from the best, leader suggested someone better suited for it. Sir Gilliard had once been stronger than his brother, but now Kian surpassed him. Eugene also imagined carefully about the offer. Then Patriarch asked whether Eugene had received how to develop mana from his father. Eugene replies that he hasn't. If he learned it, then he had surely end up training his mana. Sir Gilliard smiled at that. He was sure Eugene had always been diligent in training after coming to the mansion. The mana stone found in powerful high-rank monster. It was common to use mana stones when learning how to use mana because mana stones are very efficient. They are also very expensive. And again, a beginner must get supervision from experienced people so that the results are visible. Sir Gilliard realized that would be hard to do in the Jihard family. According to him, their environment problems to be unable to develop Eugene's potential. Sir Gilliard knew he couldn't say these things to Eugene. That would make the boy look down on his own family. This is a matter to be discussed separately with Master Jihad later. After it was felt that enough time had passed, Eugene finally decided to resign. Sir Gilliard wants someone to escort Eugene, but this boy prevented him, saying that it's between the room and his room wasn't too far, so he wanted to go alone. While having a look, Eugene finally walked alone down the hall to his room. Not how far from Sir Gilliard's room. This boy stopped because he smelled a very strong perfume. He noticed that there was someone in one corner of the hall who wasn't moving, as if waiting for him to pass. So Eugene tried to act normal and kept walking calmly. A woman appeared in a luxurious dress. It was Patriarch's second wife, CatZilla. She seemed surprised to see Eugene figure. As this boy knew this woman was only pretending, Eugene will play along and pretend to be surprised to Eugene also behave formally, while bowing and greeting. Seeing this, CatZilla immediately said she saw Eugene talking for a long time with Patriarch, with a cold face. Eugene asked if there was anything CatZilla wanted to talk to him about. Instantly CatZilla's face turned irritated behind her hand fin. In her heart this woman thought Eugene was very arrogant only, because Eugene just beat the main family. CatZilla was annoyed thinking about this, but she admits that the boy in front of her will become a person someday. So, CatZilla decides to make Eugene an ally, rather than an enemy. That's why he told Seal to approach Eugene yesterday. With a friendly smile, CatZilla asked what Eugene was talking about with her husband, and then Eugene politely replied that he probably shouldn't say that to CatZilla. The grown-up woman was nervous and said she didn't mean to want to know. She tried to divert the conversation by saying something else. A few days ago Cyan had a hard time and bothered Eugene with rituals and whatnot. CatZilla once apologized because she had not had the chance to apologize on behalf of her son. Eugene politely said that CatZilla didn't need to do that because Cyan himself had already apologized. So, CatZilla couldn't help but smile and praised the boy, and then CatZilla said she already scolded Cyan. He hopes that after this Eugene and Cyan could still be friends. Eugene smiled broadly. In response to CatZilla, this boy replied that of course they could get along because they are family and shares the same name. CatZilla's eyes turned sharp because they came out of the lips of the additional family. After feeling that there was nothing else to talk about, Eugene asked to leave now. CatZilla no longer prevents him and apologizes for taking up Eugene's rest as they walk away. Eugene realizes that this is the CatZilla figure who often humiliates them as a backup breed. Eugene doesn't want to get involved with her. A few days later, Lionheart arrived from the faraway province of Gadol. As soon as he got off the carriage, Eugene's father immediately put on a sad face in his mind. He didn't expect his son to win in the blood succession ritual, even started to get teary-eyed at the thought of Eugene beating the main bloodline. He knew his son indeed had extraordinary fighting abilities from an early age, but with his condition Jihad realized he couldn't give his son wings. Jihad thought his son would face a sad reality while participating in the bloodline ritual. He hoped Eugene would realize that the boundary between the reserve bloodline and the main bloodline couldn't be crossed with talent and hard work alone. Instantly Jihad's thoughts were broken when he heard his son calling from the front of the palace. Jihad immediately ran and hugged his son's small body. He was crying with joy, while hugging this very talented son of his. With tears in his eyes, Jihad said that he was very proud of his son. He is truly proud that Eugene is his son, with a smile full of pride. Eugene said to remind his father before leaving Gadol, that he would give his father the good news, but at that time his father did not even believe his words. Jihad wiped away the tears and now he believes in his son's words. He also apologized for previously not believing Eugene's words. After seeing Sir Gilliard, Jihad wiped his tears and apologized for just realizing leader existence. Then Sir Jihad introduced him politely to Patriarch. The host welcomed the arrival of Sir Jihad. Even Sir Gilliard apologized for inviting Sir Jihad so suddenly. Sir Jihad was uncomfortable hearing that he was grateful for being invited to the Lionheart family's main mansion. Without further ado, Sir Gilliard invited Sir Jihad to come in and have a discussion. With a bright and happy face, Sir Jihad accepted the invitation.